I've been in Vegas since 1998, so I guess I'm old enough to remember when the Raiders were relevant. It's been a long time since the Raiders have been relevant. Las Vegas, 8 wins or less for the last 5 years. Mediocrity personified. They certainly were last year. Let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders for 2024. Teddy covers wagertalk.com, doing NFL team preview videos for all 32 teams. We're doing them early. I know you guys are jonesing for football content, and I've already done a significant portion of my NFL work for the upcoming season. So let's share and talk about the Raiders. Antonio Pierce, 5-4 as the interim coach last year after Josh McDaniels got fired in season. The players loved him, all right, no question. And interestingly enough, a Raiders team that historically has been at the very bottom of the NFL in penalties, they were the least penalized team in the league in the 9 games where Antonio Pierce was their head coach last year. Of course, Pierce is dealing with some pretty significant off-field concerns. He had, I guess, a bad investment in car dealerships, and his wife had to declare bankruptcy, and there are definitely issues going on off-field for Antonio Pierce. And surely the Raiders, not one of the more stable organizations in sports in the Mark Davis era. And the GM has gone from Mike Mayock to Dave Ziegler to Tom Telesco over the last 3 seasons. So 3 different GMs with 3 different roster building strategies. Now, in theory, they're set for the future. In theory, Pierce is the head coach. We've all seen how the interim coach who gets hired as the regular season coach for the next year goes. Sometimes it doesn't go so well. And obviously, multiple GMs. It's not a stable organization, period. Quarterback's a problem. I don't care. You want to call Aiden O'Connell your guy. You want to call Gardner Minshew your guy. Neither one is taking your team to the Super Bowl. Neither one is likely to take your team to the playoffs. Again, Minshew is serviceable. O'Connell was okay as a rookie last year. But it's an offense. They averaged less than 20 points per game a year ago. You have a new coordinator in Luke Getsy, who was basically run out of town at other recent jobs, which is a concern here. You don't have a ton of proven, again, O'Connell. Minshew's okay, but he's not going to win you a lot of games. O'Connell, as a rookie, again, serviceable, but he's not going to win you a lot of games. And at the quarterback position, for a team that's mediocre elsewhere, boy, you could really use someone that might be able to win you something. The offense does have some playmakers. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Michael Gallup, the number 14 pick, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer. There's things to like in terms of skill position talent, but the Raiders' skill position talent hasn't been their problem. Their problem has been defense, offensive line, quarterback, penalties, turnovers, the inability to stop shooting themselves in the foot. So they got a bunch of playmakers. If they can get the ball in their hands in space, maybe this team can score some points. The offensive line basically returns on the left side, and it's a solid left side. The right side, new right guard, new right tackle. The number 2 pick, Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon, should help. But again, mediocre quarterback, mediocre OL doesn't make a case for a great offensive season for a team that averaged less than 20 points per game last year. I want to talk about the Raiders' defense in just a minute. First, let me hype. I got to hype because there's reason to hype. NFL win report came out already. Came out the first week of July. The reason I put out my win report this early, and I do all my football work for the NFL in June so I can put out the report at the beginning of July. The numbers move, man. Get the best of the number. That's my job. So we do our NFL work early. And of course, once the draft is over and free agency is done and the mini camps are done, you're not going to learn anymore in the NFL before training camps open in August or late July and early August. And by that time, the market's already pounded to shape. So as soon as we get into June, I like to do a bunch of NFL work, hardcore, deep dive. And that allows me, one, to give you guys early content like this, which I know people are jonesing for football. By the MLB All-Star break, people are jonesing for football. And 2, it allows me to get that season one report out early before the markets move too much. So we can still take advantage of some of the best of the number. You can get that season one report. Again, 100 wins, 50 losses, 3 pushes since I started doing the report in 2001. take $20 off. Use promo code REPORT20 at checkout. I get $20 off that win report right now. And of course, if you like this early NFL betting content, please click that like button. That's all I ask. If you want to comment below, that's great. I'll be back throughout the summer months to reply to your comments and answer questions and all that kind of stuff. We appreciate it very much. Agree, disagree. Tell me what you think. I'd love to know. Put that like, click. That makes all the difference. Thank you. Let's talk about the Raiders defense. Look, Matt Crosby is a star. He's an edge rushing machine. In free agency, they added Christian Wilkins, who is a stud defensive tackle. That's a strong duo. Really is. You know, Tyron Wilson, the number 1 pick in 2023, was hurt last year. He's also on the edge. There's upside on this defensive line. There's upside in depth at cornerback this year. The Raiders were number 9 in points allowed a year ago. And for a team, again, there's been infinite coaching changes for the Raiders, infinite coordinator changes for the Raiders. 3 straight years now with the same defense coordinator, Derek Graham. That's a positive for, again, a defense that was top 10 in points allowed last year. On paper, again, this isn't a bad team. They're not a good team. They're every bit as mediocre as they've been in recent seasons. And they're being priced like a bad team. You know, Oakland's what? Oakland. Vegas. It's my town. Look, I even have the cup to prove it. Las Vegas. I've been in Vegas since 1998, and I'm still calling them the Oakland Raiders. That being said, the Las Vegas Raiders, from a scheduling standpoint, again, they're not being priced as an elite team. They're being priced as a bad team. And that has a lot to do with their schedule. Look. The league's burying the Raiders like they do. They have 1 Monday Night Football game all year at Atlanta in December. 5 early start East Coast road games. Talk about the single worst spot for West Coast teams is that 10 a.m. local start, 1 p.m. Eastern time start games. The Raiders had 5 of those. They could travel east for those squads, and they've been awful in those early start East Coast games in every recent season. AFC West teams play the AFC North, a tough division, and the NFC South, a weak division this season. The Raiders' 3 extra games, they kind of got screwed in that regard. The Rams, the Dolphins, and the Jaguars. For a team that wasn't that good, that's a pretty tough trio of extra games. You know, they weren't even a 500 squad a year ago. So, in theory, you're supposed to face weaker foes. Didn't break out right for the Raiders in that regard. Rams, Dolphins, and Jaguars. 3 teams that are all better than the Raiders are this year. They only have 1 home game between Kansas City on October 27th and Monday Night Football against Atlanta on December 16th. So even though this team is mediocre and they're priced like a bad team, from a scheduling standpoint, I can't bet them over. The league, once again, has done the Raiders no favors whatsoever when it comes to their schedule. Somehow, some way, the NFL managed to screw Vegas and Mark Davis, and they did it again this year with all those early start games and the lack of home games for an extended stretch throughout the stretch run of the NFL campaign. Again, if you like this this type of content, really appreciate the likes, really appreciate the follows. 160,000 of you plus following Wager Talk on YouTube, which is an insane number for me. Appreciate your time. And of course, we have NFL season preview, team previews for all 32 teams. Check out the playlist right here. Call to action. If you want more NFL team previews, click the next video on your screen. Thanks for watching. Good luck.